Hello, Renee Flamond here. You guys, this is a I've made videos on this before, and I'll make sure that they're in the thumbnail for you to check out also. But you know I'm fascinated with aging, and I have friends in this weekend from LA, and there was a wide span of ages. And I found it fascinating, the commentary, and how we are marveling at youth today versus yesteryear when we were in our 20s and what we look like as compared to our grandmothers. And it's really, aging has changed so much, and we have advancements and all that, yes, but I'm not talking even about like surgery and everything. I think for the most part we all are much more educated in how to treat ourselves healthily. Like when my grandparents were younger, they didn't exercise. They ate real butter and real cream. And anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. But we definitely had some interesting conversations, and I wanted to share them with you today because I really do have a lot to say about aging. I am somebody who's aging. We all are. I've seen life change so many times for people, and I'm continually astounded as to how different we are today than we were in the past when we were aging. And I'm going to give some examples using television and such, because that's easiest. We don't obviously know each other's family and friends. In order to start out with the shock that I'm discussing regarding how things have changed. That's why I'm going to use the TV, because it shocks me when I look how old somebody was when they played a character, how old I'm always looking at age because I find it astonishing. People start their lives over at 50, and some other people with a different attitude, they think their life's done at 50. It's all here. I have a girlfriend who just turned 40, and I reminded her, I said, I met you when I was 40. And we were both like, whoa, because now I'm turning 55. And I was like, 40 is beautiful, and I'm trying to tell her it's just fascinating to me, all of it, especially women, because we really tend to, some of us dwell on aging, and I love every day of it. I don't know. We'll need to discuss ageism and how many suffer from that prejudice, being aged out of jobs, relationships, and such, and we become so powerful and wise as we age, and there's more we'd like to do, yet we get brushed aside because we might be looking older. So we need to unpack that also. I hope I don't forget to do that. But to shock you into what I'm talking about, let me get to those TV examples and then we'll continue. The Golden Girls. The Golden Girls. Rue in Golden Girls was 61 years old when it started. I have 3 of my closest friends all turning 61 this year. They are not Rue in the Golden Girls. 1985 is when that show began, and these were their ages then, that first year. I looked them up. B. Arthur, Dorothy, was 63 in 85. My last narcissist was 62, 63 when I knew him. He is not Dorothy in Golden Girls. Betty White, beloved Rose, was also 63. Rue McClanahan, I just said, was 50. Oh, wait. I thought I said 61. I think she was 51. Yeah, I think Rue McClanahan was 51, not 61. That was an error. Estelle Getty, the mom, of course they made her up, so it's not applicable, but she was only 62. But these women were me and my friends' ages now. So we're sitting around this weekend and we're talking about all of this, and we're in shock. And think about how they looked in that show, which we all love that show, brilliant show, and compare them to people this age now on TikTok or Instagram, which I view some of that stuff. I don't do a lot with that at all, but I see people in their 50s, 60s, 70s dancing and that's not the Golden Girls. It has changed so much, and maybe that is social media. Maybe you have 60s and 70-year-olds making TikTok videos dancing up a storm, and they wouldn't have done that 30, 40 years ago because we didn't have that. So instead they sat and watched the news and went to bed. Maybe that's a good change. I don't know. I'm getting away from myself. I think of the Golden Girls, I think of them as being in their 80s. And now to realize they're all 60s and we're all sitting around 60s, and I think we all look pretty fabulous. And it was brought up. I was marveling at that. And like, to live that way and dress that way, you know, is for the show, and I get that, but the people now at this age just don't seem the same to me. And we are still, and so many things change, and it's allowed us to be able to age in a way that seems less cookie cutter. Like, we are still aging. We all are going to. But I feel now like we're all individual. In the group that was this weekend, it wasn't cookie cutter old people. And I say that jokingly because the Golden Girls were not old. They were 60s. But they kind of had a cookie cutter look about them. The short permed hair, certain way to, you know, that's what I mean. Like, the older person, like, something happens. I don't know if there's a line that's crossed, but people start to look a certain way. At this table, you had a stunning 68-year-old woman who let her gray go in. Gorgeous, platinum, beautiful hair. Drop dead gorgeous. Snazzy dresser. Killer shoes on. You had a 61-year-old and a 61-year-old, both of whom looked the same as when they were teenagers. I was at the table. I don't think I look bad for 55. I mean, you know what I mean? I let my natural hair grow in too, so the lady and I talked about that and how we're just not really wanting to. She loves not having any effort. She looked gorgeous. But it wasn't Golden Girls. Think about people you know. Think about your own family. Think about your own family, yourself. I mean, and this isn't about money and like, you know, all that. We're going to get into all that because some people say, oh, you know, if I had money, I would look good too. And no, people are wearing their hair natural now. That costs less money. We don't dress as costumey. I think you can do things on the down low and not spend a lot of money and look great. But I want you to think of some other examples. I got off on a tangent because something caught my eye that I want to say, but I'll remember. But anyway, I want you to think of, okay, so Kris Jenner, this isn't about whether you like or hate people, but think of Kris Jenner. She's 67 years old. Before anyone, again, yells money and plastic surgery, don't even look at her face then. That's not what we're talking about. Everything else is age appropriate, but she doesn't present herself as an old lady. She's older than all of the Golden Girls the year it started. That show presented old ladies. I guess that was the premise, but I'm continually fascinated when I look up people's ages and then compare it. It's a useful tool if you want perspective, or a yardstick or a barometer, if like you're feeling bad about yourself. Because I do this all the time with women around me. Because women especially, nobody likes to age. Every friend I have is hating their birthdays. And I always say the same question. I said it this weekend, I said it. And I think I made a video on it, and I'll find it and put it in the thumbnail for you guys. But they said, oh, you know, aging, I hate it. And you know it's my favorite thing to say because I made a whole video on it. And I said, really? Do you want to think that through? And they were looking at me, and I said, you know who didn't age? And I listed Marilyn Monroe, Princess Diana. Oh, they caught on. Yes, you do want to age. Right, of course. It's a privilege. Yes. Don't hate it. It's a mindset. Of course you want to age. The alternative is no longer being here. So my friend caught himself. But I had to point it out. And I feel like having a barometer that allows you to see yourself in a more positive light is never a bad thing. Hence the reason for this video. If you're feeling down about yourself or sorry, you know, I'm not saying it's not comparing yourself to others in a competitive way, because I've never been competitive a day in my life. I think I made a video on that too. I don't. It's personal best. I never look at the other person. But in this particular way of aging, I think it's beneficial for us to do so. I do. Because it allows you to feel okay about yourself, where you are in your life, wherever it is. We are not yesterday's 50 and 60-year-olds at all. The first ladies. Let's just do year one as first lady. Jackie O was 32 years old. He was 44. Nancy Reagan was 60 and he was 70. Barbara Bush was 64 and he was 65. Now you remember what they looked like. They were the same age as the Golden Girls and they're younger than Kris Jenner. Michelle Obama was 45 and he was 48. And I only bring these up because I'm trying to think of common examples. Compare and think of people you know. And again, this isn't about money. This is about how you choose to present yourself. Because if you say, well, Kris Jenner, she, plastic surgery, I'm not talking about that. But how you choose to present yourself to the world, there are endless ways, cheap ways to have style. If you guys ever want a video on that, I'm an expert. I've helped more people go out and shop and create a look for themselves, for their homes. That's easy. I can help you with that. And maybe I'll do that as an off-topic Friday, but you can keep it current. I think about it all the time because I'm careful not to slide into this part of life and suddenly have changed drastically. Like, when does it happen? Do you know what I mean? Or like my grandmother, maybe some people just always have a matronly look to them? Or is it generational? Like per decade? Like hair choices, makeup choices, clothes choices. Some people, I swear, just morph into being older. And my daughter catches me. Like, we'll be shopping. This is an older person to do. And I think I understand. You're exhausted. You know what works on. Pardon me. You know what works on you. You find it in the store and you want it in 3 colors. So I was doing that. I went to and I have bought a couple of colors, but I grabbed, she goes, you're being like grandma. Because my mother does do that. And I understand it now. You like it. Why wouldn't you? It's hard to find things that are just right. But she'll go, no, that's what grandma does. And I guess maybe it is an older person thing to do, to grab it in every color. Or a certain sleeve length, pant length. Like, she'll catch me. But there's reasons we do these things. But anyway, that's a whole other video. I'm sorry. But when does it happen? Does it just leak into your life? My biggest concern, and I'm finally here with my biggest point, is that the minds, to keep them fresh, to keep them sharp and exercised, I guess, is we now know the important key to aging with the most grace, good health, and sharpness, is we have to keep our minds engaged. So that's what stays on my mind as my concern more than anything. And that goes into everything. Nutrition, get yourself moving, keep your mind sharp. I get it. But I still can't believe how much everything has changed. I think back to my grandmother, which she wasn't aged out of her job. She was a secretary, worked in the same company or receptionist, whatever, for decades until she decided to leave. And she retired, and that was that. And she was probably in her 60s. People now in their mid-50s are getting aged out of their professions because we have young people in their 20s coming off with 3 master's degrees and willing to work 20 hours a day for less than what the person is making who's 52, $250,000 a year. So it's cheaper to replace the 150-year-old with 2 25-year-old hungry people. It's a phenomenon happening all over the place. I think of my grandmother, to talk about that for a second, appearance-wise again. She and my mother were both mothers at 21. They got married very young. Italian girls do that. And they were both mothers at 21. My mother got married at 17. My grandmother got married at 20. But they were mothers at 21, which means my grandmother, how many times am I going to say they were mothers at 21? I just realized when I watch this back, that's going to kill me. But my grandmother was 42 then. All right? So I came along, she was 43. So I have memories of her from age 50 on. I was 7 when she was 50. She did not look like me. She had short, permed. She was adorable. She always was with it. She tiny little itty bitty thing. Her brothers were jockeys. She looked cute all the time. Matching bag and shoes, matching, you know what I mean? But she didn't look 50. I'm fascinated by that. Like, think about how old your grandmother was when you were 10 and what you thought about her. What did she look like? Did she look like us? Like our 50? Or did she look like my grandmother's? My grandmother's Italian. Her parents were from Naples, Italy. She's the oldest of 7. So she was raised by Italian, so there's maybe an old-fashionedness to that too, coming from Italy, pardon me, is going to maybe influence that a little bit. She wasn't like all Americanized, but it still fascinates me. And I'm going to tell you something. Being a different 55 than she was, it's just alarming to me. And I just want to know, how do we know if it's happening? Like, to us, if we're crossing over. If anyone has any tips or hints, you're getting, like, watch for this. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to do that and just give up and not care and fall into the pattern of, oh, I'm just old now. I have a friend who talks like that. That's not, no, because I know it's hard when you know somebody that's walked over a line and allowed themselves just to be an old person. We can't give up like that. I know a guy who's 93. He and his wife, they're adorable. He dances as many times. His wife is a little younger, but they've been together 50 years, but she's not 93. He's 93. Dances as many times a week as they can find. They do all those kind of like eagles, the moose, the elk, the family friends. He'll dance as many times a week as he can find. He'll dance to Prince. He loves Prince. He'll talk about that. He says his famous line is, he may be getting older, but he'll never be old. It's something to witness. It's something to witness and aspire to. He finds cruises on the line and books them for him and his wife 2 years out. Has no intention of not being here. It's a mentality, and I wanted to share that with you. I made sure I mentioned him here. I'm looking at my outline. Because as fascinated as I am with aging, as hard as people are on each other, I think it's really important to bring up any positive examples. If you know any people in your life that seem to be aging well and okay with it, and they're fine, talk to them. If you're I have friends who are having problems aging. It's tough. And I talk to them a lot. And they tell me it helps because I give them a different perspective. What else are you going to do? Not age? So like he says, you may be getting older, but you don't have to get old. And let's all aspire to that. It's so much better than the other side of it. And we all know people like that. And it can be laborious sitting around someone that has a downtrodden view of the world. Complaining about physical ailments. Now, I'm not saying we can't talk to each other, because that's in the nature of our life. That's what's happening as you age, right? But I am saying that there are people who, in their company, are playing the, like, old lady card, right? Aches, pains, can you get that for me? I don't feel like moving, I'm an old lady. And you look at their age, their number, and they're not. So we all know those people as well. I think that's a mentality. And I'm not saying people don't have aches and pains, and they're not, you know what I mean? But I think it's a mentality. I know it is. I've seen it. I've seen it. And I just think you have to decide who you want to be as you age. To yourself, who you want to be to others. I've got extremes all around me. And I can tell you what I definitely don't want to be. And just give it some thought. You have the right to live your life in the best way possible. And I can't help but think that if we do things to keep our mind sharp, our bodies healthy, our souls nourished, our nutrition fed properly, then we will age better, happier, healthier, with more vivaciousness, more energy, sleep well, all of these things. And I just think in order to live my best way possible, I do not want to be somebody who accepts the ill fate of the elderly by the age of 63. I can't believe the Golden Girls were in their 60s, early 60s. And like I said, I think I was wrong about Rue McClanahan. I actually think she was 51. And now, since I wrote it both places, I'm going to look it up while we're on the phone because it's killing me. But I swear she was 51. Started in 85, and she was born in 34. She was 51 years old. Blanche from the Golden Girls was 4 years younger than I am right now. Well, I'm about to turn 55. Or maybe I already did by the time this airs. 55. She was 51. Blanche from Golden Girls was 51. Think about that. I know a lot of people that are surrendering. I do. I know a lot of women who surrender. Oh, I'm old, who cares? And they're like 64. And I don't worry, but I'm 55. And my cousin and I, my cousin's 53, we have this conversation all the time. We've been friends since we were born. She's the one that gave me the Led Zeppelin shirt. When I say cousin, this is the cousin. Well, I will have just been with her actually for a week when I'm filming this. But we talk about aging a lot, and we say, don't let that happen to us. And what will happen to us? Does something magically happen from age 53 and 55 to suddenly 63 and 65? Are we going to be 10 years from now different people? Because we look at each other, we look the same as we did 10 years ago. I don't mean the face. All of our faces are getting older, but I wear the same clothes as 10 years ago, so does she. Our hair hasn't changed much. Like, we don't look different. So my concern is in 10 years and then another 10-year clip, are we suddenly going to look different? I don't get why. I don't understand what happens. Do we cut our hair? Just we all decide to, like, if you look at it, I don't understand it. Because it's, and then permit, which makes healthy hair worse. So you might say, well, people's hair thins and maybe they're trying, wouldn't that put damage on it? Wouldn't we all be better off if the old person salon, old person room had everyone with their natural hair, whatever it looked like? I think that's going to be the new old age home. It's not going to be the short permed. All these people all over the line, you see it on TikTok, these women, long, beautiful, gray hair, they're wearing it like that. The woman this weekend, 68 years old, let it all grow in, gorgeous. She has these blue eyes, it just made them stand out, gorgeous. She looked gorgeous with dark hair too. Stunning with her natural color. I want you guys to accept who you're becoming as you age, but I want you to go after getting the best of it that you can. It doesn't mean money, surgery, plastic surgery, no. Not at all. That's not at all what we're talking about. But there are things you can do. I lead a pretty clean life. Like I was told, oh, you look good for 55. Now, I was sitting next to people in their 60s when I was told this, so I'm not, delusional, but I was like, oh, thank you, But they're like, it's clean living. I think I make pretty good choices. I don't sleep enough, and I can't help that lately. I know that I should, but lately, I don't know why, I'm just awake. But you should sleep well, all of those things. And then you'll live your best life. I'm telling you, a lot of you tell me, oh, you look so bright and shiny and happy, and that's everything. You got to work on everything. And I don't drink enough water. I'm bad at that. Bad. There's all these things we need to even do more as we age. Ladies, especially, that are watching this channel. I know a lot of you are my age, and we hug my age because I see who watches. They do this demographic thing. And I think that we have to be easier on each other. If you have wrinkles, if you have gray hair, we're aging. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. I don't think that we should try to hide it or run from it or pretend it's not happening. Just accept it, but kick its butt every step of the way and be your best 55, 60, 65, 70. Don't wear something just because you think you want to give up and, oh, I'll just wear this. Who cares? You care. You're looking at yourself in the mirror. You care. You're looking at what? That affects your psyche. It does. I know it does because we all, oh, please, with Corona. How many of us? We wore 2 outfits a week. We were in the same clothes, right? That affects your psyche. It does. So I want you to grab and get everything out of life. And the best way to do that is to age as gracefully and wonderfully and happy and healthy as we can. Just let's not use examples of yesteryear and surrender any efforts thinking, well, I'll just be old. No, we're not yesterday's old. You can't do that. I thank you so much for watching, and please go ahead and hit sub, like, and share, and I will see you next time.